Before I start this video, I want to quickly talk about why exactly my comment section has been disabled for the last couple of days. And I actually found this out yesterday, and I was kind of shocked that all my videos I've done in the past, the comment section has been closed. But I think I figured out why that is the case. So, you know how every time when you upload a video and right after you put your thumbnail, there's always this question asking, is this video made for kids? And this is obviously part of the new terms and agreement that YouTube has made in order to imply with the COPPA Act that was implemented a couple of months ago. And I always click yes in terms of that question because I thought by doing that I will have less risk in terms of YouTube taking down my video, and I'm complying with the terms and agreement that YouTube has. Well, it turns out maybe that isn't the case, and that does have a serious consequences. And I think I start seeing this a couple of days ago, where if you decided to click yes, it basically says that on all your video the restriction is going to be made for kids. Now before, when you put your restriction made for kids, there isn't anything different. But I think YouTube the last couple of days probably had a new update where if you made your video made for kids, that means the comment section will be closed. And the reason why the comment section is going to be closed for made for kids is that, in other words, that restriction basically saying your target audience is mostly the kids demographic. And you know how kids usually, they put like nasty things in the YouTube comment section that has nothing to do with the video. Well, YouTube is trying to fix that by implementing this new update where, you know, kids can of course still watch the video, but they no longer can say these nasty things in the comment section because the comment section does not exist and that it's been disabled in this video. So yeah, that's why after this video I'm going to make every single video that I've done in the past not made for kids. And it's not because this video is not made for kids. All my video is always kid friendly, but the reason why that is the reason why I had to go back and disable all my video in terms of making it kids friendly is I want to open the comment section. And I'm one of those guys that believe that everybody that watched my channel, or all my viewers that watch my channel, have the rights in terms of react to it. And whether if they of course react to this video kind of inappropriately, I can always go back and ban them, which doesn't happen very often. Or whether they react positively, I of course will always put a heart next to their comments in the comment section. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do that, and hopefully that will open up the comment section. And I'll just gotta remember every time when I answer that question, I have to put no, because then the comment section will not be sealed off. But that being said, after that lengthy kind of explanation of why my comment section has been disabled, let's talk about today's video. So yesterday I did the MLS Western or MLS Eastern Conference New Year wishes and resolution. Today I'm going to be doing the MLS Western Conference New Year's wishes and resolution, and I'll leave a link in the description below to look at the Eastern Conference version of the New Year wishes and resolution, and I'll even put it on the end screen right at the end of the video. But without further ado, let's start with the Rapids. In terms of their New Year wishes and resolution is find the missing piece in the puzzle, and I put hint a central attacking mid player or a creative player on their team. I think this Rapids, when you look at this team, they look pretty good in terms of most of the possession they have. I mean, on the attack, they definitely have a goal scorer named Kai Kamara and had a couple of decent creative player like Diego Rubio, and also I forgot there was another guy on that team is a very decent creative player. Oh, Jack Price. Yeah, that's the guy that I mentioned, and I would call him the king of set piece because he seems to always be the guy that deliver a beautiful ball from a corner spot so that one of his player can hit it into the back and in. And maybe that is one of the reasons why the Rapids were so good last year, because they were the team that, you know, I know there wasn't an official list in terms of the most goals scored in a set piece, but I think the Rapids probably top that chart in terms of the most goal that's scoring the set piece, because they score a ton of set piece last season. Well, it's great the fact that they score a lot of set pieces, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have to create something on the ground too, and when you don't have kind of like a stoppage of play, which is why I said that they need to kind of find that creative player, because they kind of don't have it right now. I could also say that missing pieces could be a goalkeeper, because since now Tim Howard has retired, that goalkeeping spot is kind of a little bit short, but I think Clint Irvin will step into that goalkeeper role. And when Tim Howard was injured for parts of last year, Clint Irvin comes in, and I thought he did a decent job, and probably did even a more decent job than when Tim Howard was behind the stick. So yeah, I think if they can find that missing piece in the puzzle, they will definitely make the playoffs heading into this new season. Dallas, same as what I said about the Red Bulls. So if you watch my video yesterday, I talked about how the Red Bulls, their wishes is that they need to get this new patch of talent and hope to develop them fast so that they can compete in MLS. I'm going to say the same thing with Dallas, because Dallas is kind of doing the same thing, bring these young talented players through their pipeline and trying to develop them so that they can be competitive. And last year they were kind of ahead of schedule in some sense, because I thought last year was the year where they're going to go into this rebuild and try to get these new batches of young talent together before they're gonna like just develop them, and that this next year they will accelerate the developing process and get them into the playoffs. Well, it turns out those players seems to kind of develop very fast, and that they actually made it to the playoffs when I didn't think that was going to be the case. Now, the fact that they did make the playoffs, I think, despite the fact that I thought this was going to be the development process heading into this year, I feel like that means that they can maybe accelerating even more and say that, it's great that you guys kind of show so much improvement in your first year. Now I expect you to show even more improvement and get into the next level where it's not just about making the playoffs, but actually winning a playoff series. The Dynamo. Tab Ramos will construct a competitive squad doing the rebuild. So the Dynamo, no doubt, is going to be going into a rebuild this year. I'm assuming in this offseason they're probably going to sell Albert Velez and Mauro Manotas. So far they haven't sold both of those players, but there's been rumor that Manotas could be leaving the Dynamo and they would get a big sum of money. And I think if you're the Dynamo, you would definitely think about not only rebuilding heading into this next season, but eventually sell both of these players and earn a profit out of this. Because if you want to get your rebuild started, and if you want to have the money to try to build a competitive squad that, as I said, I hope Ted Ramos would do exactly that, you need to sell both of those players so you can bring that profit in. So we shall see if that is going to be the case. But otherwise, I hope Ted Ramos, who finally gets a chance as a head coaching role, he will get the money to build a competitive squad. Although right now I haven't heard any kind of signings that the Dynamo has been made, or at least big signings that the Dynamo has made. I mean, they signed a couple of homegrowns, which is nice, but are they going to be regulars in that team? I don't know. The Galaxy. A functional defense. I mean, you probably, before I actually did this video, you probably knew I was going to say this, because, the Galaxy, I've been kind of almost in some way kind of targeting them in terms of talk about how they just need to have a functional defense, and I think Galaxy fans are kind of getting tired of me talking about how they need to have a functional defense. But the bottom line is, when you look at the stats and you look at how bad their defense has been for the past couple of years, it's obvious that I think that is something that Galaxy fans should have their top priority in terms of their New Year wishes and resolution. Obviously, I think the other New Year wishes and resolution would be they need to replace Zlatan, but I think the first priority is they need to have a defense that doesn't give up 60 plus goal. And so far, they have shown some promise in terms of trying to get a functional defense. They signed Emiliano Insu from Stuttgart a couple of weeks ago, and they also are rumored to get Zambrano from Peru to fit into that defense. So yeah, things are looking promising in terms of the Galaxy signing some defensive player to reinforce the defense. But we saw something similar to this last year when they thought that they signed some decent defensive player to reinforce the defense, and it turns out those players that they signed did not reinforce the defense whatsoever, and in some way maybe made it even worse than it is. LAFC win MLS Cup, and I know this sounds very general, and as I said in yesterday's video, I tend to not want to make it so general in terms of every team New Year wishes and resolution, but the bottom line is, I think if you're LAFC, and especially if you're a fan of this team, that is going to be the expectation of this year. Like, last year, it was a huge disappointment that they didn't reach MLS Cup when they were clearly the favorites of getting into that stage, and that I feel like this season it's going to be the same thing. You know, if you want to talk about early odds of who potentially can win MLS Cup, LAFC would be on the top of the priority because they have almost the same team, and that I expect them to once again dominate MLS and probably win Supporters Shield again. And you know, even if they don't win Supporters Shield, I think that would be also a good thing for LAFC because, you know, we've seen before how the Supporters Shield seems to be kind of like a curse, and that most of the time when teams win a Supporters Shield, they usually don't win the ultimate prize, and that maybe with teams winning the Supporters Shield, they tend to like kind of push the team, and they push the team so much in the regular season that they kind of run out of gas as they head into the playoffs. Now, I'm not quite sure if that's completely true, and especially LAFC, I don't think they ran out of gas in the playoffs, considering they won the Supporters Shield so early and that they really started to rest some guys in the last couple of days. But maybe not winning the Supporters Shield, and maybe just think about actually getting to the playoffs with a decent position, and that they can of course heading into the playoffs with that unfinished business kind of mentality that they want to get not only to MLS Cup but actually win the whole competition. Maybe that's going to be the mindset that they can head into next year. Minnesota, in terms of their New Year wishes and resolution, is they need to get some attacking option. And I said it before, how this team, you know, if there's one thing that they need to improve this offseason, it's the attack. And I also said that I don't trust Angelo Rodriguez and Mason Toy as the two players that's going to be the core of our attacking piece. Not because both of those guys can not do it. I mean, we've seen Mason Toy, what he did in the latter part of the year, and that really he's become one of the most hottest prospect in the league with the run that he had in the latter part of the year. And Angelo Rodriguez had a relatively good run in the beginning of the year, but you just don't know if they can keep this up for majority of the year. And especially Rodriguez, the same guys that I said that he had a good run in the beginning of the year, yeah, he fizzled out by the second half of the season. Same can go with Mason Toy. You know, he had a great run of period where he was like averaging a goal every single game. But then as we get closer to playoff time, he started to disappear. So, yeah, I just feel like they need to have some attacking option. Obviously, they've been rumored to get Luis Amarilla to come to Minnesota. Although today I heard that most likely he might not come to Minnesota because he says that he wants to join another team in South America. I think Cola was the team that he wants to join. So, yeah, that's kind of frustrating, the fact that, you know, we could definitely get an attacking piece, but it seemed like he's kind of turned down that offer. Nashville, in terms of their wishes, is don't be like FC Cincinnati in their inaugural year. Listen, I know Nashville is coming into the year, clearly have this mentality, the fact that we're just happy that we are here. Well, it's good that they're happy to be here and they're kind of just celebrating their achievement of getting to MLS in their inaugural year. But for God's sake, please do not be like FC Cincinnati. And, you know, I've been always teasing the fact that when you look at the squad that they have built, it's a very FC Cincinnati-like kind of squad. But I'm just hoping that it won't be the case. And I'm hoping at least, you know, even if they're not going to make the playoffs, which I think when you look at what they've done in the offseason, not a lot of people would say that they'll probably make the playoffs in their inaugural year. But at least don't be like FC Cincinnati, where they just give free points to people because they're so nice in their inaugural year. They're so happy to be here that we need to give back thanks to all these teams that gave them to MLS, which is give them free points every single week. The Portland Timbers, in terms of their wishes and resolution, is make Providence Park a fortress again. There's no doubt that Providence Park last year was anything but a fortress, and it was kind of surprising the fact that the Timbers in the second half of the season, when they had all those home games, they were struggling mightily. And I guess maybe the reason why that is the case is, some people will say, well, they're always at home a lot, and that since they have a good home record, you would think that maybe they would do well every single game. But at the same time, that was also during the point where, I think the other way you can think of this is that, yes, they have done well at home, and you expect them to do well again at home in the second half of the season. But there's also that pressure in terms of playing at home. And I think the Timbers realized that, since they all got off to a relatively mediocre start because they have all those road games, that they know that this home stretch is the time when they, of course, can make the run. And that I feel like they kind of felt that pressure of have to make these home game counts, and so that they can get themselves up in the MLS standings. And it turns out they fall out of that pressure. So hopefully this season, they're not going to feel that pressure. I think this is the first time in 3 years where they're actually not going to have an incredibly long road trip to start their season. But let's just hope that they can, of course, make that place a fortress again, and that the Timbers would be just one the team you definitely do not want to play whenever they are playing at home. RSL, an ideal replacement for Nick Rimando. So, so far in this offseason, they haven't really found a ideal replacement for Nick Rimando. I know I have heard that they're trying to get one of their USL goalkeeper that their affiliate to replace Rimando, although I think that is a daunting task for him to do, considering he hasn't had a lot of MLS experience, and that just to step into the foot and try to perform almost with the same expectation of what Nick Rimando has done, that's definitely not going to be easy. So I feel like RSL still need to think about maybe getting a goalkeeper and getting a veteran goalkeeper in there with Rimando, because if that veteran goalkeeper is there, they can at least they know that they'll probably be there maybe for 1 or 2 years, but at least it can put the pressure off of what they're thinking of promoting that young goalkeeper from their USL affiliate to just jump straight into the deep end of the swimming pool and replace Rimando in that spot. My team, the San Jose Earthquakes. What is their New Year wishes? Well, I could easily say make the playoffs, but that's just way too general. But I think the New Year wishes and resolution for the Quakes is get a good DP and defensive help. And I really don't need to explain that much of the fact that why they need to get a good DP, because most of the DP, and I think all of the DP that we have signed in the past, has been a big flop. Like, the only DP I can think of that was relatively decent was Vaco, that we just recently signed, and even I kind of questioned whether or not if he is good enough to be a DP in our team. So hopefully eventually we get a good DP, and that this designated player, I know people are going to say, well, this good designated player is going to be a guy that we're going to splash the cash so that we can get. Well, yes, it's good that it's your possibility of getting a good DP could help if you splash the cash to get a proven kind of player. But at times, just because you splash the cash to players that you think is going to be a good DP doesn't mean it always turns out to be the case. And also, they need some defensive help. I mean, they only have like 2 senior defender on their team in Youngworth and Cassia, and if one of those guys goes down, then we are going to have a big problem in terms of that center back row in our team. The Seattle Sounders, get some defensive help. So the Sounders, obviously, they are also a team that's kind of a little bit short in terms of defensive end, since Chad Marshall, of course, retired last season, and Roman Torres just went to Inter Miami this off season, and that, you definitely start seeing kind of a pass of the torch where, both of these defenders that's considered the core of this Sounders defense now moving on, and now you're getting a new center back partnership in Kim Ki-hee and also Arriaga, which, last season there was time where that partnership did happen and it kind of looked a little bit shaky, and the fact that those, I think, are the only two guys that they have in terms of playing that center back role, I feel like they definitely need some defensive help, and they have been rumored to get the target that the Galaxy was trying to get in Zambrano, but we shall see if that, of course, will be the case. For Sporting KC, all the season signings they've done so far will get them back to the playoffs. So they hope that with them splashing the cash for Polito, he will be a decent player. I believe there was another striker that they have signed that hopefully he will do well to get them back to the playoffs. But I think the one thing that they probably still need this offseason in terms of them getting back to the playoffs is they need some defensive help. Like, when you look at this defense, this core of the defense is clearly in need of replacing, and you did see a couple of guys from this old core of the defense that is started to move on from this team. So they need to probably find a couple of defenders to try to fit in this team. Otherwise, despite the fact that they could have a very decent attack, their defense is going to be leaky again, and that they're going to be looking like the Galaxy again, where it's a sexy attack, but at the back, it's just absolutely paper thin. So, yeah. But lastly, in terms of the Whitecaps and their New Year wishes and resolution, is show some progress in the rebuild. And I think that is really something that the Whitecaps are hoping, because last season they really wasted a year of this rebuild, and that they tried to get this rebuild doing, but they did it completely wrong. This season, they hope that they won't make the same mistake, and they already splashed some cash in getting their main striker, Luis Cavallini, which I think he could be a decent player for the Whitecaps and can score a couple of goals, or maybe even more than 10 goals this season, and could be the striker that the Whitecaps has been desperately looking for these last couple of years. But they really need to show some progress in the rebuild. And when I mean progress, I mean, they don't necessarily have to make the playoffs, but don't be a team that is sitting in the cellar of MLS by the end of this season. Because if they're sitting at the end of the season at the cellar, something tells me the front office needs some changing to do, because they cannot waste another year of this rebuild, and certainly Whitecaps fans don't want to see this team go on this rebuild and that they have to restart again because they messed up in terms of some of the signing and the construction that they have in terms of building this squad for this rebuild. But yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. As usual, if you agree with what I said here, let me know in the comments below. And yes, the comment section will be open in this video. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.